Okay, for the final part of this week's lesson, you thought a little bit more about drought and how we can conserve water, which is one of Earth's resources. So, on the first slide, we looked at some images of Utah and Utah's drought that we've been in for a while. And unfortunately, at the moment, with the most recent data, much of our state is in an exceptional drought, the highest level of drought that there is. So hopefully you notice the images show images of areas where there is not enough water or less water than there usually is. And the real world problem is we are in a serious drought in Utah and all need to do our part to help conserve water. But instead of focusing on data from Utah, we focused on data from a fake or fictitious city, California City. And hopefully you notice that in California City, the categories that use the most water are farming and houses. And in Utah, we have a similar pattern where agriculture uses the most water. So when we think about ways that families use water, did anything surprise you here? The way we use most water is outside of our house on our yards. So our grass lawns and yards use a lot of water. Toilets also use a lot of water. And then the least amount of water were plumbing leaks and from faucets. And so one way, you could have had lots of different answers here, but one way that families could reduce their water use would be to use less water in our yards. You also learned a little bit about farmers and how they use water. In studying this data table, the drip method uses the least amount of water. The flood method uses the most amount of water, and the drip method is the best solution. Now, in the next two slides, you could have made different decisions. That's what this whole part is about. It's about analyzing data and having to make some decisions or evaluate some potential solutions. And your evaluation should be based on data, but it could also be based on some of your own reasoning as well. So if you didn't pick the same thing as I did, that's okay. Just make sure you have a good amount of reasoning to support the choice that you selected. So I selected only water your lawn and outdoor plants 2 days a week as a way that the families or homes could conserve water. I chose to ask families to reduce the amount of water that they use in their yards by watering only 2 days a week. Most of the water used in homes is outside for the lawn and yard. If people use less water outside, it could make a big impact in conserving water. I did not choose to stop watering all summer long because I know if people did that, all of their outdoor plants would die. For farms, I chose water your crops using a combination of drip method and the sprinkler method. So I chose to have farmers use both the drip method and the sprinkler method to conserve water. I know that the drip method is the best for conserving water. It uses less water and less water evaporates from the soil. However, I imagine that it is expensive to put in drip lines and probably takes a lot of work. So if farmers could use both methods this year, maybe over time they could convert their farms to water crops using only the drip method. Okay, so look through your answers for part 4. Again, they don't need to be the same as my answers. Mine are just examples, but make sure you're really explaining your answer choices and you can support what you've chosen with data and reasoning.